is the most inspiring thing I ever said to you?
Don't be an idiot.
Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing. Dwight Schrute. The entire efficacy of this incredibly useful piece of information hinges upon your ability to pick the right idiot.
We import 2/3 of our cheese. That is a disgrace.
You spoke to the Prime Minister today, didn't you?
I did.
What did she say to you?
I just said, well, I was very pleased to meet her because I think she's had a hard time. Really hard time. I mean, there are a lot of idiots around her, and those same idiots are vying for a job.
Wonderful to be here in Manchester, one of the few great British cities I have yet to insult.
Fantastic. Now, you've been here before, have you?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, it's a great place, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a
superb job. Right, that's that. That's the colour. Let me get.
You guys want the economy out?
Well, that is exactly what I'm trying to do. Exactly what I'm trying to do.
There's the business.
What do you have? Do you work in a business? Do you want some fruit?
No, I'm homeless. I'm actually a homeless person.
Now, this is a fantastic speech that has come out of the US at a graduation ceremony, and I was so blown away by what he was saying and how he was conveying the message of the stupidity that seems to be taking place in politics. I felt there was no alternative but to just showcase exactly what's being said by previous prime ministers and our politicians in the UK. But on top of that, there is a message within this which is kindness, and I feel because I've showcased these clips, I'm being a bit cruel, but I'm also doing the greatest good, and the greatest good is generally the truth, and all I'm using is their very words against them. Have I missed the message, or am I just relaying the truth? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
I wish there was a foolproof way to spot idiots, but counterintuitively, some idiots are very smart. They can dazzle you with words and misdirection. They can get promoted above you at work.
What you're witnessing here is uselessness, and you're also about to witness Boris Johnson using his oratory skills to get past the fact that he's lost his place in his notes, and he's going to blag you. But the blag is going to be so bad because he references Peppa Pig, which is now an American company.
People will have the confidence to stay nearer the place they grew up, to start business. And Tony, yesterday I went, as we all must, to Peppa Pig World. I don't know if you've been to Peppa Pig World. Who's been to? Hands up anyone who's been to Peppa Pig World. Not enough. I was a bit hazy what I would find at Peppa Pig World, but I loved it. And Peppa Pig World is very much my kind of place. It has very safe streets, discipline in schools, heavy emphasis on new mass transit systems, I notice, even if they're a bit stereotypical about Daddy Pig. But the real lesson for me, going to Peppa Pig World, and I'm surprised you haven't been there, was about the power of UK creativity.
They can even be elected president.
Here's a clip of Donald Trump thinking that a cognitive test, which is used to make sure the president doesn't have dementia, is actually an IQ test.
I said to the doctor, it was Dr. Ronnie Jackson, I said, is there some kind of a test, an acuity test? And he said there actually is, and he named it, whatever it might be. And it was 30 or 35 questions. The first questions are very easy. The last questions are much more difficult. Like a memory question, it's like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. So they say, could you repeat that? So I said, yeah. So it's person, woman, man, camera, TV. Okay, that's very good. If you get it in order, you get extra points. Okay, now he's asking you other questions, and then 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes later, they say, remember the first question? Not the first, but the 10th question? Give us that again. Can you do that again? And you go person, woman, man, camera, TV.
If you want to be successful in this world, you have to develop your own idiot detection system. As part of the responsibilities of being your commencement speaker, I'm going to share mine. Sure, I'm naturally suspicious of people who never saw the original Star Wars movies, and even more cautious of people who loved the prequels and the sequels. But I admit this is not a reliable idiot indicator. No, the best way to spot an idiot: look for the person who is cruel. Let me explain. When we see someone who doesn't look like us, or sound like us, or act like us, or love like us, or live like us, the first thought that crosses almost everyone's brain is rooted in either fear or judgment, or both. That's evolution. We survived as a species by being suspicious of things that we aren't familiar with. In order to be kind, we have to shut down that animal instinct and force our brain to travel a different pathway. Empathy and compassion are evolved states of being. They require the mental capacity to step past our most primal urges. This may be a surprising assessment because somewhere along the way in the last few years, our society has come to believe that weaponized cruelty is part of some well-thought-out master plan. Cruelty is seen by some as an adroit cudgel to gain power. Empathy and kindness are considered weak. Many important people look at the vulnerable only as rungs on a ladder to the top. I'm here to tell you that when someone's path through this world is marked with acts of cruelty, they have failed the first test of an advanced society.
So here's a load of clips of Tory MPs being completely and utterly cruel. This is a Holocaust survivor confronting MP Suella Braverman over her use of language, which she connects and finds very similar to that of rhetoric used against the Jewish population and migrant population in 1930s Germany.
I'm a child survivor of the Holocaust. In 1943, I was forced to flee my birthplace in Belgium and went across war-torn Europe and dangerous seas until I finally was able to come to the UK in 1947. Now, when I hear you using words against refugees like swarms and an invasion, I am reminded of the language used to dehumanize and justify the murder of my family and millions others. Why do you find the need to use that kind of language?
That we mustn't shy away from saying there is a problem. And there is a huge problem that we have right now when it comes to illegal migration, the scale of which we have not known before. And I won't apologise for the language that I've used to demonstrate the scale of the problem.
I don't support the Human Rights Act, and I don't believe in economic and social rights.
What the caller asked you was why so many people think you're racist.
Yeah, well, I think, yes, we've had our idiots.
And part of the answer would be, you talk about children who can't speak English as a first language without mentioning it includes includes your own children.
I mean, what is racism? Is racism between races? I mean, I was talking about.
Don't you know? How can you say you're not something if you don't know what it is?
I mean, is race about colour? Is race about race, or is it about nationality? I made a comment there that wasn't intended to say any more that I felt uncomfortable about the rate and pace of change and numbers of people.
No, you felt uncomfortable about people speaking foreign languages, despite the fact that presumably your own wife does when she phones home to Germany.
Yeah, I don't suppose she speaks it on the train, That's
why not? Is she not allowed to? Can't she speak German wherever she wants? And what about the line about not wanting to live next door to Romanians? It's perfectly acceptable for people not to want to...
I was asked, if a group of Romanian men moved in next door to you, would you be concerned?
What about if a group of German children did? What's the difference?
The difference, and you know what the difference is.
No, I honestly don't. This is, I think, where the disconnect is between your position and mine.
Tens of thousands of disabled and sick people are dying every year. We are dying. There have been hundreds of suicides. I spent the 48 hours after the last general election trying to talk people out of killing themselves, and I didn't always succeed. People are dying here, and nobody cares.
But the raw truth is, the money's got to come from somewhere, and it's very easy.
Let him respond.
It's very easy, and I can think of lots of things that I would like to avoid making difficult decisions on, and lots of areas like the health service or schools where I want to put even more money in. But unless you've got a strong economy, creating the revenue, it's just a childish wish list. We're trying to do our best to get the balance right between responsible public finances and investing in some of those crucial areas you discussed.
You choose to sacrifice tens of thousands of disabled people for the sake of that. This is the sixth richest country in the world.
To give you some context to the next clip, these images were put up in a detention centre for refugees, and the MP you're about to listen to painted over them.
Painting over characters, is that something that you think is part of a sensible, humane system to...
Well, with respect, I don't think you judge compassion on this issue by the decoration at a particular centre that people
But it was
first arrive
obviously
in
important
when they
enough
come
to spend
the
money
UK.
on painting it over, so it must have been an issue.
This is a small element of a broader piece of work to change the signage at those locations. But the real test of compassion here is stopping the boats altogether.
This footage is from the London Mail campaign. Whilst everyone is in lockdown, these guys are having a party. The guy in the white shirt in front of you has just been awarded an OBE, and the London Mayor was at this party, but we don't know when, if it was before or after this footage was taken. They clearly know that this is wrong. They're questioning about it being recorded, but they state as long as it's not being streamed live, it's fine. This is footage from Grenfell Tower, and we're about to listen to Jacob Rees-Mogg, another British politician, making comment about people lacking common sense, and that's why they were caught in the fire.
There have been suggestions that in part the tragedy was caused by either racism or policies of class. Are these suggestions correct?
I don't think so. I think the tragedy came about because of the cladding, leading to the fire racing up the building, and then was compounded by the stay put policy. And it seems to me that is the tragedy of it, that the more one's read over the weekend about the report and about the chances of people surviving, if you just ignore what you're told and leave, you are so much safer. And I think if either of us were in a fire, whatever the fire brigade said, we would leave the burning building. It just seems the common sense thing to do.
Home Office campaign urging illegal immigrants to go home has been banned for using misleading arrest statistics. The campaign involved poster vans driving through 6 London boroughs in July. It drew over 200 complaints to the Advertising Standards Authority. The ASA, however, cleared the campaign of being offensive or irresponsible. Damien Green, was it a mistake?
No.
That you're also talking about them. 32 million people are looking for jobs in Europe, and that big clunking fist pointing, saying that they're coming...
That was a provocative poster.
They're coming for your job. That frightens people.
Well,
people who are already here working.
Well, sadly.
People who my children go to school with. Their parents are troubled by the idea that they're now being demonised and typified. And you gloss so smoothly and so slickly over demonising Romanians and demonising Germans.
I'm not demonising anybody.
Like you just asked you a question about Romanians and you started talking about people traffickers.
They never forced their animal brain to evolve past its first instinct. They never forged new mental pathways to overcome their own instinctual fears. And so their thinking and problem solving will lack the imagination and creativity that the kindest people have in spades. Over my many years in politics and business, I have found one thing to be universally true. The kindest person in the room is often the smartest.
Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Thank you to all my Patreon and YouTube supporters who keep this channel going and growing. If you like that, there's more here. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.